In the spring of 2009, more than 3,000 Georgia Army National Guard soldiers began a history-making year-long deployment to the world's most dangerous battlefield, the rugged mountains of Afghanistan. It started with send-off ceremonies held in armories like the ones in Statesboro and Covington, Georgia. Community gatherings in small towns like Springfield on the Georgia coast.
To command for each soldier standing here, an angel of protection.
A packed picnic in the park in Noonan, southwest of Atlanta. And finally, a grand parade attended by the governor and top generals in downtown Macon, headquarters of the 48th Brigade Combat Team.
Thank you, troops!
Statewide, roughly 3,200 Georgia Army Guard soldiers from 27 different small-town armories were called to arms. But before the troops could begin their journey into the war zone, they had to spend weeks honing their soldiering skills in bases around the nation.
Gunners, fire mission front. Troops in the open, 500 meters, 5 to 7 round bursts. Fire.
The soldiers of Bravo Company's 2nd Foot started with basic weapons qualification on the ranges at Fort Stewart, outside Hinesville in the piney woods of South Georgia. From Fort Stewart, it was on to training facilities like Camp Shelby in Mississippi and Camp Atterbury in Indiana, places where role players wearing traditional Afghan clothing and shooting Taliban-style weapons put the troops through their paces.
1, 2, 3, lift. Basically, it's our job to make them react and use the training that they've been taught.
Every soldier has got to be competent in their basic warrior skills, and so we train that here very deliberately. And I'm not shy about saying that we make it as difficult as we can be.
Move it.
It was during this pre-deployment time that I began to realize just how unique the members of the 48th Brigade truly are. In every sense of the word, these soldiers really are a family, figuratively and literally. I met the 3 Calloway brothers from Covington, all serving in the same unit. There was the husband-wife team of Donna and Juan Salazar, the mother-son team of Sergeant First Class Tracy Brogdon and Specialist Michael Thompson, and the father-son pair of Tim Hollingsworth Jr. and Sr. All were deploying to Afghanistan together.
The stress of being there, knowing what's going on, knowing what he's actually going through, it's a whole lot less to be able to see it firsthand than it would be sitting at home not knowing.
He's my dad, but you know, I'm an adult now. We're friends, you know, but we're the best of friends you could have. You know, I know that out of anybody I can trust him, and I know he's going to be there for me.
Now you might think of the famous Sullivan brothers, all 5 of whom were lost at sea aboard the same ship in World War II. Their deaths led to a military policy discouraging members of the same family from serving together in combat. But contrary to what most people think, the policy does not ban the practice outright. No congressional act nor presidential executive order has ever made it against the law. When the 48th Brigade troops made it to Afghanistan in mid-spring 2009, their main headquarters was at Camp Phoenix, a densely packed compound in the outskirts of the capital, Kabul. In short order, the Georgia soldiers began their mission of getting Afghan National Police and soldiers up to speed. Heavy armored vehicles carried the soldiers to their destination, with the watchful eyes of the top-mounted gunners constantly scanning the passing street scene. What's the most important part of your job here?
Not get complacent, make sure you scan everything. Any person could be doing anything.
Arriving at this Afghan National Police station, the Georgia Guard soldiers were pleased with what they found. a well-organized precinct with cops who manned machine guns and searched everyone who came in the front gate.
So yeah, they're much more armed at their checkpoints and at their stations for their own protection.
For Staff Sergeant Rodney Ellison of Jonesboro, it was more than just a job. It was a chance to make history and make a difference in the lives of countless Afghans.
Oh, that makes me feel good that we're going to be a part of changing a country, and it just makes me feel good, makes my team feel good.
I found the Afghan Army benefited a great deal from its time with the soldiers of the 48th Brigade as well.
They are always helping us. They are training our soldiers, NCO officers, and also they are helping with the supplies at all the time.
And we do more than just teach fighting. We teach accountability, we teach the units how to sustain themselves, we teach language skills. Believe it or not, some boys from South Georgia can actually, give English classes.
While I didn't see any Georgia soldiers teaching English to the Afghans during my stay with the troops, I did get to tag along as Afghan Command Sergeant Major Ibrahim Ahmadzai took his Georgia Guard mentor, First Sergeant Stephen Dowling, on a visit to a literacy class at Kabul's Central Military Training Center. The setting was far removed from the combat training the Peach State troops received before they deployed.
It's not what I expected to do when we left Mississippi or Georgia, but I like it. We've got a lot of good to do here. Sergeant Major Ibrahim, he's great to work with. All of my soldiers are enjoying what they're doing. There's a definite point and purpose to being here. You can see where you're making strides and changes every day, every week. They get better at what they do.
Best part, actually to know you're actually doing something to support their country to make it better.
The man in charge of the 48th Brigade, Colonel Lee Durham, insisted it was a mission his troops could believe in.
I don't sell anybody short. I think the Afghan people have shown over and over again throughout history that they are totally capable of whatever they put their minds to.
The parade field at the Afghan National Army's 3rd Brigade headquarters just outside Kabul is a long way from the National Guard Armory in Noonan, Georgia. But that's where the Noonan soldiers found themselves in mid-August, working to forge a new fighting force under the blistering Afghan sun.
The mission here is to train a brand new Kandak or battalion of Afghan soldiers, and many of them just graduated from basic training over at the Kabul Military Training Center.
This weapon is different than the AK-47.
In one class, the Georgia troops taught their Afghan counterparts a lesson in how to disassemble and clean the American M16 rifle, which is replacing the Russian AK-47 in the Afghan arsenal. But other lessons were more subtle and often went in both directions.
It's exciting because we get to do new things. We get to operate very closely with a different nation. We get to learn their cultures and how they operate. And these people here have been fighting for eons. So they have a wealth of experience and a whole new take on how to operate as a military unit. So it's interesting to be able to gain the knowledge that they have and see if you can incorporate it into some of the ways you do things.
من میگم که قلب گرفته از سر تا پای قلب دل دیگرشان باید یک چیز باشه مشترکاً به یک قسم حرکت بکنن.
While frustrations often popped up, the Georgia soldiers understood the importance of the task at hand.
This mission is the future of Afghanistan. It's the future of America, because the sooner we get them trained up, the sooner we get out of here.
The winding two-lane road from Kabul to Jalalabad looks like it came straight out of Lawrence of Arabia. The switchbacks and hairpin turns carry you thousands of feet into the air, with stunning views all around and gaping gorges below. It's one of just a handful of paved roads in all of Afghanistan, and often drivers get plenty of time to enjoy the view while traffic is stopped.
All the way. Back up. Keep going.
Georgia Guard soldiers often took matters into their own hands and broke up the traffic jams. It came naturally to Staff Sergeant Luther Lewis, who is a police officer back home in Fulton County.
I mean, as the truck's driving slow, you get 2 or 3 passing in one direction, 2 or 3 passing in the other direction, and they'll get locked up for hours.
The road leads to Sorobi Village, where cars compete with cows for space, and open-fronted shops offer brightly colored cans of soda and other sugary treats.
Yeah.
This group of 48th Brigade soldiers came here often to get to know the neighborhood and to pump a little cash into the local economy.
It's great to me. I love meeting new people. They're awesome. Sometimes you can tell they charge us a little bit more than what they get it for, but it's okay. We don't mind paying the price to help them.
The soldiers' favorite food here was a special kind of bread. The Afghans call it naan, but the soldiers had their own name for it.
We call it foot bread, and we call it foot bread because everybody here sits on the ground and they have their feet around and about all the dough and the working areas, and they walk on the same table they stack the bread on as it comes off. It's kind of why we ensure that when we get our bread, it's fresh out of the oven, goes right into the bag.
On some occasions, the 48th Brigade's interactions with the Afghans were much less peaceful. In late July, Taliban forces launched a fierce attack after a group of soldiers finished meeting with local elders.
By the time we made it out there, about 5 hours had passed, and I'm in a sense of relief when you get back to a forward operating base where you can sit down and drink some water and take a breath. You're emotionally drained, I mean emotionally and physically.
But the Georgia troops were due to make waves again just a few days later when they uncovered an insurgent weapons drop-off point. Inside this sack, the Peach State soldiers found a suicide vest packed with explosives, as well as some old Russian mortar rounds. The Guardsmen were proud of their success and said it brought them closer together as a team.
You go through this stuff over and over and over again, and these guys get better each day. Each day they get better. They've really shown. They've really risen above, you know.
Other 48th Brigade troops rose above the call of duty as well, including Specialist Kit Lowe, a Savannian who served with a 48th Brigade unit based in Calhoun in North Georgia. On August 7th in Afghanistan's Kapisa Valley, dozens of insurgents attacked Lowe's unit.
In our case, they fired a couple RPGs at us, and I know immediately where they were at. You can see the smoke trail coming off it. Of course, once we ducked and got back up, we start fighting into those positions.
It seems like all your training comes back to you, and you get tunnel vision. You focus in on what you need to do. You know, a lot of the clutter that floats around in your head just kind of disappears at that moment because it's, you know, you've got to do what you got to do at that point.
Don't really think about it while the bullets and the RPGs are flying and hitting all around you, but once it's over with and you got time to sit down and relax and think about it and gain your thoughts back, it's when you start thinking, man, that was close.
Georgia-born Marine Captain Matt Freeman was fatally wounded in the attack. When Lowe realized the medic treating Freeman was in danger, he placed himself in harm's way and saved the medic's life, taking a bullet in the leg.
He certainly performed in a heroic manner that day. He put the safety and security of his fellow brother there ahead of his own and performed admirably.
Lowe was sent out of Afghanistan for treatment, causing him to miss out on a ceremony here in which several team members were singled out for medals. But Kit's teammates had a message to send the young hero.
Not only were you doing something that you love to do, but you actually saved another American. So don't ever think once that what you did was in vain, because you saved another human being. You will never be forgotten, and I'll see you soon.
We're proud of you, and we love you very much.
Not only were you doing something that you love to do, but you actually saved another American. So don't ever...
Those messages were a real pick-me-up for Kit, who spent months undergoing painful therapy at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C.
Nerves going to my foot were severed, and so my nerves are misfiring, and so that's just constant pain, and I have to be on high doses of certain nerve drugs to keep it to where then a tolerable thing for me.
The most intense and exhausting part of Kit's regimen took place in Walter Reed's Physical Therapy Center, where trainers designed a demanding program aimed at regaining the use of Kit's wounded leg.
You kind of have to match your approach to different types of patients, and I kind of see that he's kind of the guy that wants to be teased to do more, and if you give him more, he responds to it by doing more, and that's kind of the approach that we've had. Try to push him a little bit beyond what he thought he could do.
The various specialists worked as one to piece this wounded warrior back together.
You can't go through this and not walk away different. You can walk away and be mad and be hateful and be pissed off at the world, or you can walk away and be a better person. And what choices you make are up to you. All of the therapists here, all of the doctors here, all of the nurses here, all of the volunteers here are so positive. If you walk away negative, there's something really wrong with your heart and your soul.
You can do it.
Through it all, Kit had the unwavering support of his family.
You ain't grunted yet. Come on.
His parents put their lives on hold to help him through this difficult experience.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let it go, bub. Let it go. Attaboy. He's my son. Ain't nothing else I care about anymore. That's my child. He's old and he's goofy, but he's still my child.
Kit's recovery progressed slowly but steadily. In October 2009, he returned briefly to Savannah to give his Purple Heart to his alma mater, Benedictine Military School. Back at Walter Reed in February, the Army honored Kit with a Bronze Star for his actions on the battlefield. While the soldiers of the 48th Brigade were doing their work on the ground in Afghanistan, their counterparts in the Georgia Air National Guard's 165th Airlift Wing were busy ferrying troops and supplies from nearby Bagram Airfield. Their C-130 Hercules aircraft are known as the pickup truck of the Air Force, hauling up to 50,000 pounds each of people and vital supplies to places where no other fixed-wing cargo plane can go.
Speaking from the C-130 community, this is, how would you call it, Herc heaven. This is the type of flying the C-130 was made for. It's mountainous terrain, dirt airstrips, you know, doing it ugly, and that's what the C-130 likes to do.
So what makes the C-130 so perfect for the mission here in Afghanistan? Well, the secret starts with each of these four 20,000 horsepower turboprop engines. They're part of what allows the C-130 to stop so quickly on a short runway. But the real secret of the C-130's stopping power lies behind these big tires. It's a 16-disc braking system that allows it to come to a complete stop in no time.
Well, we got a lot of dirt, short runways that we need to land on to drop cargo and personnel in a quick fashion. So this aircraft's able to come in short fields, make quick landings, and get out.
The Georgia Air Guard team put those unique abilities to good use in Afghanistan.
Well, we've carried a lot of ammunition, of course, but we also do medevacs, where we pick up the wounded soldiers, coalition, Afghan, and they turn it into a flying hospital almost. We pick up an aeromed team. So that's pretty much what we've been doing. Unfortunately, every now and then we do have to carry our fallen soldiers out of the combat zone.
I'm very proud of our crews. They've hit the ground, and you just look in their eyes and they're ready to go fly. And they're proud to be, they're really proud to be here. They want to come, they volunteered to come, they didn't have to come. And to be sit here and watch our crews and our maintenance, the way they handle these airplanes and keep them running and keep going outside the wire to support those young troops that are out. That's the bottom line, is going out and supporting those young men and women outside the wire, and that's what we're doing.
Often the C-130s resupplied American soldiers without landing at all, dropping the supplies from thousands of feet above.
Green light.
Load clear.
Red light, 550.
Right now we're dropping food supplies. We're dropping milk, cereal, Gatorade, Cokes, water.
Modern technology also made it possible for the Georgia Guard Hercules to fly missions at night, using the cover of darkness to work beyond the reach of the enemy.
You'll notice that all the lights are off in the aircraft. The pilots are using night vision goggles to allow them to see, but the enemy can't see us.
It's night vision goggles, and what it does is it tries to enhance whatever light is out there, light source, whether it be stars or the moon, and it pretty much enables us to see at night. Now tonight's a really bad night because the moon hasn't risen yet, so we pretty much have zero illumination, which means we can't really see much. So it's not a great night for MVGs.
And in a valley far below, we were treated to a rare spectacle. Bright flashes in the night sky bearing silent witness to a massive artillery battle on the ground. We landed safely, unloaded our supplies, and picked up some troops who needed to head back to Bagram. This was just the first of several such nighttime flights the Savannah crew undertook on this moonless night. Then another crew took over the aircraft in the morning and kept the missions going. Any National Guard deployment affects more than just the citizen soldiers. It affects those they leave behind as well.
Here, Bobby.
In Savannah, Amy Harris raised her little son Bob Jr. alone and worked her way through a second pregnancy, all without the help of her husband, Captain Bob Harris.
I think it's easier at the age that my son is at because he's only one and he can't tell me like full sentences how he's feeling or how upset, but I know he recognizes that his daddy, and I know he misses them because like pictures on the wall. We went to Grandma's house and he saw a picture of my brother who was in his uniform. And he has dark hair and looks like my husband, and he was like, "Daddy, Dada," and I'm like, oh, even at 1 year old, they realize, you know, that something's different or something's gone.
What'd you just do?
The couple made good use of the internet to stay in touch, but it still took a lot of emotional effort for Amy to stay strong.
And that's why I try not to watch the news. I try not to read the newspaper too much because you know that you're going to see that and you don't want to see it because one of the things that hurts the most is that you can think that it's your own or someone real close to you. You can run now. Go. Go. Daddy! Look, the cheeks are the same. Hello. It is Daddy.
In December, Bob was able to come home just in time to spend the holidays with his family.
It's wonderful. He's grown so much since I've been gone. You just don't realize, you know, how much goes on over a couple months when they're at this age.
A Christmas miracle was in store. Just a couple of days later, Amy gave birth to the couple's new daughter, Sarah.
She's a lot smaller than I expected, but it was wonderful. Really rounded out our family.
She's doing great though. She's thriving and she's so sweet, but she's a little active one.
It was a bittersweet homecoming with Bob bound for Afghanistan again in just under 2 weeks. But Amy and Bob had made it this far, and they were confident they were strong enough to stick it out until the end.
It's important to know that you know that you have a good family to come back to, and I'm on the short end of the tour this time, so I just hope she doesn't grow up too much while I'm gone like he did.
What you have brought together, let no man put us.
Another Guard couple took their vows just as the deployment began. Jason and Mary Rich were married in Griffin on the day of Jason's unit's send-off ceremony. But the only children in this Guard family were the 4-footed kind.
I love my dogs. They're my angels. Every time I start feeling bad or upset, you know, I'll take them outside in the yard and play with them, and they always cheer me up. Hey, yeah, I can see you. Can you see me?
Jason and Mary made use of the internet and an Afghan cell phone Jason purchased in the war zone to stay in touch.
It's nice to see his face when I can, and it's a rare privilege, and it's very precious to see him.
I love you more than anything.
I love you more than anything too, Jason. You be safe, okay?
All right, baby girl. I'll try in the morning.
All right, I love you.
Often, it seemed the only other people who knew what Mary was going through were the wives and girlfriends of the other soldiers in Jason's all-male unit.
I tell a lot of people, oh yeah, you know, my husband's in Afghanistan, and they just kind of look at me with a blank stare. They don't know what to say, and that's the first clue that nobody really knows what's going on, you know. I mean, you hear about war on the news, you hear about, you know, people dying here, people dying there, but unless you know someone personally who's over there, I don't think there's any way you can know what's going on.
That's why Mary jumped at the chance to gather with her Guard sisters at a Noonan restaurant, to find a shoulder to lean on and blow off some steam.
They're our family when our soldiers are gone, that we're all kind of each other has in a way.
What's the plan tonight?
Eat, have some drinks, have a lot of fun, go bowling, get to know each other, to vent to each other and laugh, cry, get through the tough times.
If you're not going through this, you know, you don't understand. You don't understand why you cry every day, or that empty feeling, or that loneliness. It is different. People can say they understand, but if they're not going through it, they truly don't.
Of all the friends I have, none of them can come close to understanding what I'm going through, except the women that are with me right now.
Unfortunately, there were those who experienced a level of loss and pain that no one will ever be able to take away. The families of the 8 Georgia Guardsmen who lost their lives on this year-long deployment to Afghanistan. In a crushing blow to the statewide brigade's morale, 3 soldiers were killed in a single insurgent attack on June 4th. Veteran Guard Commander Major Kevin Jenrette, Staff Sergeant John Beal, and Specialist Jeffrey Jordan were all based at the Armory in Calhoun. Just over 2 weeks later, First Sergeant John Blair was killed by a rocket-propelled grenade. On July 6th, Sergeant Brock Chavers and Specialist Isaac Johnson died when a roadside bomb went off as they rode past. The very next day, Corporal Raimundo Morales lost his life in a tragic accident when his vehicle rolled over. And finally, on October 2nd, Staff Sergeant Alex French, a longtime Bibb County Sheriff's deputy and the father of 4-year-old twin daughters and a 1-year-old infant son, died in another roadside bomb attack. In virtually all of these instances, the soldiers came home to a fallen hero's welcome, with hundreds of people lining the roads to express their gratitude for the troops' sacrifice and support for their families.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Through it all, the mission continued on the other side of the world.
People get killed in Afghanistan every day. Death is all around you. And every time you roll out in the gate, when you roll outside that wire in a convoy, you never know if that's your last time leaving. There's no guarantee that you're coming back, and you know that.
In late February 2010, the first groups of 48th Brigade soldiers began trickling home. They flew into Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, then rode buses to Fort Stewart in Hinesville.
Okay.
There, in a ceremony repeated time and again on Cottrell Field, loved ones rushed to embrace their soldiers.
This concludes this afternoon's ceremony. Please go out and congratulate these fine soldiers.
What's it feel like to be home?
Oh man, unbelievable. 10 months not being home, feels great. I'm all shaking right now. It's just, I've seen everybody out here. It's just unbelievable.
What are you most looking forward to when you get home?
Just relaxing.
Yeah.
Ain't a lot going on, no headaches, nobody getting hurt, nobody getting blowed up. Just relaxing.
I wanted to get into his arms as quick as I could. I just couldn't stay still. So I was so ready for him to be home.
The long deployment was over.